What's up, humans, and welcome to a new Psicoactivo. Happy Thursday, everybody. Okay, so this is the sixth time, I think, that this guest comes on the show. He's the all-time, most times that he's been on Psicoactivo, and we got to talk about a lot of things that have happened over the last 4-5 months or so, but we're going to focus on the most recent stuff. So please help me welcoming Mr. Matt Laslo from AskaPol. How's it going, Matty?
Who you calling a human? I'm a political reporter. That makes me some like endangered species from another planet, probably.
I think that's something that people don't get, though, about your work and about congressional reporters in general. There aren't many, but there aren't any but you and maybe Khalil who covered the UAP stuff. And they, for some reason, they think that you guys always have to like say nice things about these politicians. That's not how this shit works. How do you feel about this general feeling that after whatever happened with Luna, um, kind of they're putting kind of you like on the receiving end of a lot of trolling and a lot of vitriol? How do you respond to that shit?
It's just freaking weird. So I've been covering Congress 19 years and, also professor of journalism at a handful of schools. It's interesting. So now, like, I see that I'm being used as a pawn by these politicians because I mostly teach political communications at Johns Hopkins. So I'm like studying their comms moves, and now I'm like, oh, now I get what happened to Lou Elizondo when Luna was on the Joe Rogan show. It's like when things don't go how she wants them to, and it sounds kind of like Lou wasn't there for the skiff briefing because they weren't told that this date you need to be in Washington because we have the skiff briefing. So like when Luna, the chairwoman, fumbles, just like remember the UAP hearing was supposed to be in July. The reason there was no public UAP hearing in July, from last we heard, was Democrats on the oversight committee told us that, hey, there couldn't have been a hearing this week. It's not canceled because there's no witnesses, not canceled because of anything like that. It's canceled because Chairwoman Luna and her office failed to give a week advance warning. Like they just fumbled like the basics of Congress, like Congress 101, they failed. And so instead of her admitting that, boom, she lashes out. And that's like, I get it from her perspective a little bit. It's, deflect from me. But like what she doesn't realize, like, and as you said, I'm a journalist. I see myself in a separate category. Like, I'm not an advocate for anything. My first tattoo is tabula rasa, blank slate in Latin. My second one is my First Amendment, my quill that wrote the First Amendment. Like, I did not, like, I don't vote as a reporter. I try to stay out of the fray as much as possible. And like the whole thing I attempt to do, and that I kind of do well, is I listen. And so all AskaPol is just transcripts of me listening. And like, like a lot of times you'll see in those transcripts, Laslo doesn't ask a lot of questions. If anything, once they're going, he just says, yeah. I don't have any opinions I want them to have. I literally take questions from our subscribers, take questions from my audience, and then I just ask those questions to lawmakers. And so it's unsettling to me, been a tad depressing, between like depressing to like infuriating, because it's like, okay, I'm not a politician. I'm a fool if I even like step into the ring with her and allow her and others to like view me as like this political hack. And like some of the critiques to this longer post I put on Reddit, people were like, oh man, you're so anti-MAGA. Like, no, guys, it's the reality of Washington right now. You have a Republican in the White House, you have Republicans controlling the Senate, and you have Republicans controlling the House. So if the UAP issue has been stalled or stymied in this Congress,
it's because of Republicans.
Democrats have no power in this Congress. And so, yeah, if you're a conservative, if you're MAGA, if you're a Luna supporter, it might feel personally like I'm attacking her or them. But like, no, guys. And if anything, I'm dispassionate in a bad way. But again, like, I am not an advocate at all on any side of any issue. And so to see me being lumped in there is like, for one, laughable. For two, people are giving her the chair too easy of a win. I'm like, guys, go to AskaPol.com, AskaPol UAPs, and look, first Secrets Task Force meeting, according to Congresswoman Nancy Mace and Congressman Tim Burchett, UAPs did not come up in the first Secrets Task Force meeting that was chaired by Luna. So, and that was like March or so. First meeting, what did they focus on? They focused on JFK, Epstein, RFK, MLK, all the like big hot button conspiracies that aren't UFOs. And so that, especially a first meeting from a new chair, that first meeting really sets the tone. And so what did Congresswoman, now newly appointed chair, what was the tone she wanted to set for the Secrets Task Force? The tone she wanted to set had nothing to do with UAPs, UFOs. Nothing. Yep. And that's according to her fellow Republicans. And other fellow Republicans have come up to me asking, like, hey, aren't we supposed to have a hearing? Because everyone on Capitol Hill, like, any congressperson is getting UAP news. It's for AskaPol UAP. Like, most of the UAP caucus have given me their personal emails, so I comp them. Just like I do for students. I call Congress my wayward children. So just like I give students free subs, I also give lawmakers free subs. Because, yeah, they need to be read up. And like, unlike Politico, which is happy taking taxpayer funds, you know, I'm a shitty capitalist over here. So I give them away for free to lawmakers. Yeah, it's just perplexing. The sad thing is this week Congress is out. Congress is out a lot because they're lazy. And so, which is utterly bipartisan. Actually, Senate's been in a lot more under Republican control than they were under Schumer in the last Congress, where he ran a 3-day-a-week Senate. And so, like, yeah, bipartisan ineptitude with Congress. But that really does give these lawmakers a pass on a lot of stuff, because just wait for it next week. I have a lot of questions for Chair Luna, and I have other questions for other people on the UAP caucus, because what this last tip where Luna attacked me for what she did with Matt Gaetz. What was it? Last February, someone on the UAP caucus told me verbatim, like, hey, Luna and Gaetz have been shown bodies, you know, alien bodies. When
Wait,
they were at one of these,
somebody in the UAP caucus told you that? Wow.
A sitting member of Congress whispers in my ear, hey, Gaetz and Luna have seen bodies when they were, and it seems like at Florida Air Force Base together. Because like after we post that, it's like I'm told that. Then I go up to Congresswoman Luna, co-chair of the UAP caucus, What does she reply? She says, I can't discuss
can't talk
that.
about that. Yeah.
That's classified.
Yeah.
Which is like very surprising response. And so that's where at the time I went. And like, so after that post went out, it blew up. To this date, that is the biggest, most viral post we've ever had at AskaPol UAP. I'm like, we blow up the internet a lot with hundreds of thousands, millions of views. That's still to date our biggest traffic day ever. And so knowing that Congresswoman Luna and Matt Gaetz were tagged in a lot of those posts, as it's going viral, I don't think the Congresswoman missed it. Like, it might have been strategic silence on her part, but after that post was out there, me going up with a question that just embodies information a UAP caucus member told me, taking that to Luna, Luna says, she doesn't say that's false. She doesn't say, no, that's bullshit. Ha ha ha. So she says that classified, I can't discuss it. And like, real quick, if Congress is going in, you know, right after we bomb Iran, right after Trump bombed Iran, if they went into a classified briefing, which they did after that bombing campaign, if they were told in there, well, so how would this go? If they were told in there, like, hey, more strikes are coming, then they came out and told us, oh, you're going to jail. You know, not allowed to discuss that. But if there was no talk of using American nuclear weapons on Iran, and yet there's a rumor circulating out here in the half real world / the internet, you know, there's a rumor out here that, hey, Trump is, you know, deploying B-2 bombers. This time he's got 10 nukes. He's taken Iran out. If I asked the chair or co-chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, hey, we hear that America's got 10 B-2s in the air, fully nuclear armed, and they're going into Iran. Like, those lawmakers have a duty to say, no, no, that wasn't discussed in there at all. So, like, she, at the time, Congresswoman Luna, was playing fast and loose with just the whole notion of classified and, you know, having skips. I never quite believed. Yeah, I never believed that they saw bodies. I believe that they told their fellow UAP caucus members that they had.
That they saw.
So I'm trying to figure out what they were trying to get out of it. And now, and the two were tied at the hip on this. So like after that post goes out, hour or something after it, Matt Gaetz' office goes out of their way to email me, and they say, look at our site, look at AskaPol.com. They literally confirm that Luna and Gaetz had a classified briefing. They say we can't discuss the details. So Congresswoman Luna saw that. She was probably a part of all that. Gaetz' office probably reached out to her. The congressman and her were actually probably texting because they love going viral. You know? And I know I was texting Gaetz at the time, asking him, and then his staff got back to me. So like, if she missed that, and so like now it's like, okay, we're more than a year and a half out of that. Is Chair Luna now telling us the truth? Because she's laughing that off, saying Laslo's making up lies. Like, wait. I asked you what one of your colleagues told me on the record, and on the record you said I can't discuss that. So, okay, you either can't discuss it, the fact that you're now denying it negates what you said then. So, were you lying then, or are you lying now? And more so, it again seems like she's using, or that she used in tandem with Gaetz, used strategic silence. And like, there's also this theory I have that they might have been trying to smoke out who on the UAP caucus was leaking. And who would they be leaking to? The only UAP outlet in Washington, AskaPol UAP. So that could be what they were doing. Now, if that was the case, and the chair is fine with deceiving the entire UAP community for a year and a half, failing to update that. Because, I mean, if they were trying to smoke out one particular of their fellow caucus members, they were smoked out. You didn't have to go and deceive the public. So that's, again, just, I'm giving them the shadow of the doubt. That could be it. I mean, there's like just a few options. They either saw bodies or they didn't. And like, and so now seeing them recreate this narrative, or her being like, Laslo's full of shit, he's insane, he's bad shit, making stuff up. No, ma'am. I went to you with information that a fellow member of not just Congress, a fellow member of the caucus that you co-chair, something they told me, and you didn't at the time say, nah, you're making this stuff up. That's insane. Because when I went and took that same question to Senator Martin Heinrich, senior member of Senate Intelligence Committee, New Mexico senator, he was like, no, we've never been shown bodies in the Senate Intelligence Committee. He said that on the record, laughed it off.
Do you think that this tip that you got might have been with a partisan kind of angle because of the division that is within the UAP caucus?
Let me put it this way. There was 100% nothing partisan about it because it was a Republican who told it to me.
Oh, shit.
And so, yeah, we can winnow it down. And like, there's not that many people. And so, again, stay tuned to AskaPol UAP this week, because I'm going to be asking every member of the UAP caucus about the time that they heard Gates and Luna were shown bodies. I'm very curious what they say. It'll be interesting to see if Luna has tried to backpedal quietly. But yeah, like, this would have been a non-conversation if Luna said what she said last week in the heat of anger, lashing out at me, blah, blah, blah. If she had said that in February 24, so if she had said that last year, she would have cleared the air. She actually would have really helped a lot of confusion that has stemmed since then. But
and it's funny because people keep seeing how you respond, and I see like very calm responses, like even respectful always, and they get, because they're on Luna's side, they get like, oh, Laslo's crashing out. It's like, no, dude, Laslo always speaks like that. He's always like that. He's just being a reporter. He's just doing his job. And it's funny because she keeps saying that, trying to dismiss what you said, but you have it all on record on the AskaPol website, like everything.
Yeah, literally the whole idea of the site is looking at the 90 million Americans who could have voted in 2024, but who sat it out. I think, what, Trump got some, maybe 77 million votes, Biden got 75 million. Like, there were more Americans who saw the two options in the last election and said, nope, I'm not even going to show up and vote. So more Americans exercised their democratic right to protest the two major parties by sitting out the election. And so, like, that's what AskaPol is aimed at. I'm going after the unnewsed. That's what I call it. The unnewsed. No one's talking about UAPs on the Hill. No one's talking about crypto on the Hill. No one's talking about cannabis on the Hill, unless I'm asking. And so, like, those are the initial tranches of the unnewsed that I'm going after. And so, like, yeah, there's a big overlap with a lot of people who might support Luna.
And this is something that I think we need to clarify, though, because since this started, you're not going after Luna. You're just like defending yourself with facts. And another thing is, we want for Luna to engage, to talk, to say what she knows, or even say, I can't talk about that. But the fact that she's responding in that like more passionate way, that already says a lot in itself, doesn't it?
Well, so she was like really frustrated with me because if you look at the AskaPol account on X, yeah, we started playing hardball like in July. Once out of nowhere, public hearing canceled, and I asked other UAP caucus members. I just re-listened to an interview from back then where another Republican lawmaker on the secrets task force goes, "Hey, can we go on background, Matt? Weren't we supposed to have a hearing?" And I'm like, "Yeah," because I was then asking about like, "Hey, Democrats say Republican leaders are the ones killing the UAP investigation." So yeah, there were some partisan barbs in there to eradicate that rumor because I knew it wasn't a partisan hangup. You know, if anything, party leaders gave them this secrets task force. So like I knew that wasn't the case, but I take rumors. That's what I do at AskaPol. I take rumors, facts, blah, 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 what people are talking about online, and I take that to lawmakers, and you all get to hear me ask them, and then you get to hear their response. So we have the audio, and then we have transcript. And so, boom. I like the hope, and like this is kind of a little bit of a flaw with the AskaPol model. The flaw became realized when Gates and Luna refused to deny something like they were playing 10-dimensional chess. And I was like, wait, I thought we were just playing 5-dimensional chess here. So like now having Luna come out so, boisterously against herself, I'm literally like, and so I think a lot of people took offense. Like Laslo said, she's a liar, that she's lying. Guys, that's just like, I don't do Washington speak. That's why I've written for Playboy, Rolling Stone, Vice News Tonight, Daily Beast. Like, yeah, I've got my own NPR bureau. So there I do the delicate, politically correct. No, that's not even Washington speak. That's the politically correct BS of the left media today.
But that's not you. That's not you.
But that's me adapting to that audience. And so like when that's the wild thing about this. And so like Luna, I would say, and like people were like, wait, she never said that she saw these bodies. Hey, comms Professor Laslo looks at her and says, you kept that either misinformation or disinformation. And again, I think from what I see and know now, it seems like Gates and Luna were deploying strategic silence where they knew what the truth was, but they were using silence as a shield. So you all might give Congress or politicians a pass at that. Like, oh, they didn't utter the words. No. I ain't a swamp creature. They can play those games, and I just shine a light on it. So if you allow my entire audience and the entire UAP, UFO community globally, because again, that post went more viral than any of our other viral posts. Like right now, we've got a video per check from a couple weeks ago. The last I checked was at like 1.5, 1.6 million views. Like that paled in comparison to what this post of Luna and Gates. It's like they were in tandem. And the fact that Gates came out after we posted the Luna interview saying I can't discuss it, within like an hour or two of that, Gates and his team were reaching out to me and AskaPol to affirm whatever that story was. So again, now I'm reporting and now I'm investigating whether Luna and Gates had ulterior motives then, whether Luna has ulterior motives now. So there's just like a lot of questions. Like I ain't gonna pull a Luna and just like yell online. I'm gonna quietly, methodically get answers to this. And like when Congress or my colleagues in the media, they just move on. They're knee-jerk. They just go from one headline to the next, to the next, to the next. They don't have memories. What I and what AskaPol has is a memory. So the first time the UAPDA, the UAP Disclosure Act, probably the first time the NDAA was even mentioned in the Capitol this year, was when AskaPol was asking about it in January, because we've been on the hunt to find out what the UAP caucus has failed to find out. These caucus members, they don't even know who's been gutting their signature bill. 2 years they've had this investigation going on. And like the post we just dropped today with Congressman Nick Begich, who isn't on the UAP caucus per se, but keep an eye on him. He's cued into the issue, and yeah, he's one to watch. His takeaway from that hearing was, hey, what are the statutes? Because like he knows this little thing called the Constitution. He's like, what are the actual statutes that the White House, not just this Trump White House, but the Biden White House, the previous Trump White House, the Obama White House, the Bush White House, like every White House, and every White House was probably co-opted to a degree by people in the executive branch, but ultimately each White House controls the flow of information that does or does not come out underneath their tenure. And so I still am really curious and hunting for who is gutting Leader Schumer's amendment, his UAPDA, to his face, his UAP Disclosure Act. Well, same thing kind of with the UAP caucus. Those members, so what? After our reporting this year, they went up to chairman of the Oversight Committee, James Comer, and Speaker Johnson being like, hey, are you guys the one keeping the UAP caucus, keeping us from accessing SAPs or special access programs? Well, they were only asking that because of our reporting. And then we got denials on the record from both Comer and Johnson being like, what are you talking about? And like, they're washing their hands of it. Well, that means there's someone in their offices, some very high up, maybe their chief of staff. Because like, yeah, all politicians lie. I say I interview 535 lawmakers for a living, but like, they're smarter than just, dare I say, what we just saw from Luna. Like Speaker Johnson is careful with his language, and he doesn't per se, like if you find a spot where Speaker Johnson has utterly reversed himself on House rules and inside of Congress politics, like, yeah, we've seen him reverse himself and come in line with Trump and MAGA and all that. That's different. This is internal House, internal Congress politics. Like, it's the Speaker's house. It's like Speaker Johnson, he's careful. And so, like, when he told us, and he actually stopped when I asked him and said, wait, what are you asking? And I like rephrased it. I slowed down, rephrased it, and he really thought through. And he also, the lawyer in him, was also wisely looking for how I was phrasing it and how he would phrase his response. And he did it very well. I don't even know what you're talking about. So that either means the Speaker's office, because we see the Speaker himself, well, then we have the Speaker's office. It's either the Speaker has washed his hands of this issue, or the Speaker's office has. Like, if that's the case, then what do we see? Well, committee chairs are very powerful, and I guess they control that. The big thing I'm looking for, and still looking for throughout this Congress, is what's the difference of Mike Turner? Like, because Mike Turner's now gone.
Yeah.
And so the thinking last year and in previous Congresses was, oh, it was Mike Turner, as the puppet master in the background, which you often do see when a speaker or Senate Majority Leader, so like what? Take Cuban and U.S. policy. One of my clients for years was WLRN, Miami Public Radio. So like, I always covered those issues, whether it was like sugarcane industry down in South Florida and sugar subsidies, or just like the embargo, all that. Republican leaders, whether it was Speaker Boehner, Speaker Ryan, Speaker McCarthy, they know that they have very vocal South Florida Cuban Republicans. So whatever those South Florida Cuban Republicans think on most any issue is the direction the entire Republican Party goes, because those members, including Marco Rubio, Diaz-Balart, Jimenez, those lawmakers care. They're also Cuban American. My godson's a quarter Cuban, so God bless me some my Cuban peeps out there. But like, same with cannabis. Andy Harris, Republican, now chair of the House Freedom Caucus, the whole party goes kind of whichever way Andy Harris wants the party to go, because he really hates pot. Rest of the party, more libertarian, don't really give a shit. Most all of them are in states that are now moving, or that have moved to legalize. So no one else in the Republican Party really cares. I've had some senior Republicans tell me like, oh yeah, I support cannabis banking fully. I just can't say that on the record because, you know, represent a conservative state. And the senator who told me that represents a conservative state that actually voted to legalize recreational marijuana. But he's like, oh, I can't say this on the record. So that's where the whole party kind of ducks for cover in back of Andy Harris on all things cannabis. So like, you have those same dynamics here. It seems to me, again, that's what I'm like sniffing out. But so I could see how Speaker Johnson and even before him, Speaker McCarthy would kind of outsource all of their thinking on UAPs to Turner, if he was passionate about it, on Intel. The party goes with those experts or whatever in their party, and the expert is the person who's the loudest, basically.
Isn't Wicker the new Warner though?
Still fishing around on that. It's interesting you name him because sometimes I talk to him about cannabis policy in the South. So yeah, and so me and Wicker, I know him well because I was maybe still am the correspondent in DC for Mississippi Public Broadcasting for years. Also Pulitzer winner, Mississippi Today. One of my clients from my wire service, the LCB. And so like, I'm slowly tracking all this because I'm not a member of Congress. If I were a member of Congress and I cared about an amendment that was gutted 2 years in a row in the back rooms of Capitol Hill, what would I do the next year? I would go sit in that back room with those lowly staffers, because if those lowly staffers are the ones making these decisions, well, I would sit there and I'd babysit them. And I would just sit there until I saw who actually cared about the UAPDA, Schumer's, UAP Disclosure Act. And that's where it just kind of like baffles me as just like an inquisitive person. Like, I'm not a professor because I have the answers. I'm a professor because like I have a lot of questions and I've asked them of thousands and thousands of books. And so like, and my peers and And so like, it just blows my mind to a certain degree that lawmakers either one are not aware of who's been gutting this, or two, that they don't care enough. I mean, three could be that they're keeping this person's identity secret. I'm like, why? I know you all failed at your most basic duty to like, hash out a National Defense Authorization Act. And so like the NDAA, that's what, it doesn't fund the U.S. military, but to keep the U.S. military going from year to year, Congress has to pass a National Defense Authorization Act. The reason that huge behemoth, like think of it as Moby Dick, the reason that huge whale of a bill always gets passed along huge, massive bipartisan lines in both chambers is because everyone has like a pet project to 10 pet projects in it. All those people hate the other 95% of the bill, but they bring that like 5% or 1% wins back home. And I'm like, wait, you guys have like allowed yourselves to be neutered, kind of by taking the entire month of August off, as they did this year again. Took the entire month off. They come back. Oh, U.S. government's about to shut down, which it is when Congress, they're off this week, so no real pressure. But they come back next week, have a few days, and then, oh, government might shut down. Guys, we knew that. Why? Well, not just because we knew it in this July, but we knew that because it's the same thing that happened last year, which was the same thing that happened the year before that. And so, like, these young reformers have done no reforms. So, like, yeah, just seeing these members, like, who are part of this caucus, like, supposed to be just honed in on this one specific thing. It's like, no. Last year, when did Congressman Burleson, and I think, or no, last year it was Garcia, but the first year, 2023, Congressman Burleson, he only heard about the UAPDA because of me. And last year, I accidentally reminded Congressman Garcia of it. And he's like, oh, I'm going to drop that in the middle of an election year. I'm going to, be partisan with it. And so, yeah, lawmakers are so derelict at just their most basic duties. I'm like, I get it. The constraints of a contemporary lawmaker are insane. But, like, you got to be on social media that much? Or maybe it would, like...
Or going on big podcast, throw shade at people.
But you can also sit there on social media in that back room overseeing what they're doing to this 1,000-page NDAA. And the second UAPs come up, be like, wait, what? Oh, are you the person cutting this? Literally, like that children's book. Are you my mother? Are you my mother? Like, Congress, or even like take one of your staffers, put them in there, and then once it's cut or someone goes after it, be like, oh, hey, now we know. And so, yeah, Congress is so bad on so many levels, but like they're at their worst when they're deflecting. Because, like, what can I say? Well, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have, been so aggressive in some of my
line of questioning
on Luna and that. I probably shouldn't have said she's a liar. I should have actually, like, deployed some political correct Washington BS.
You could have said she was misrepresenting stuff, right?
Just like,
essentially say the same thing.
Playing the Washington games and just like deceiving. You're doing whatever Matt Gaetz did. But no, like, I still like to be very human.
You're authentic.
Politician.
That's how we prefer it, man. Because if you start doing that, you'll feel like one of those politicians, and that's not something that we want. We want Professor Laslo to remain Professor Laslo,
And, like, again, like, and this is like the wild thing about this, because everyone knows, like, Liz Cheney now from post January 6th. Everyone forgets that Liz Cheney, like, my prediction pre-January 6th was that she was going to be America's first female president. And my liberal ex who worked for Obama hated that. Especially when I told her NYU students that. But, like, I was fully convinced Republicans were going to have first female member, and it was going to be Liz Cheney. Like, what did she do? She slid up within her second term in Congress. Boom. She was number 3 in GOP leadership. So it was just McCarthy, Scalise, then Cheney. Had January 6th not happened, maybe Scalise would be speaker now. Cheney would be number 2. But, maybe Scalise might have gotten pushed out. Oh, Cheney might be there. And so, like, in that, when that was happening, when Liz Cheney was getting voted into GOP leadership for the first time, I did a piece for the Daily Beast on it. And I had covered Congresswoman Cheney from before she was in Congress, because I was the correspondent for Wyoming Public Radio. And so her first year in Congress, no other reporter would talk to Liz Cheney, a little bit of fear, like, oh, her dad's Darth Vader, you know, the whole dictator trope. But like, no one really talks to her because she's low on the totem pole. Well, about once a week, I'd be asking her about the oil and gas industry in Wyoming, coupled with climate change, because I would cover it for rising sea levels for Miami Public Radio. But I'd be like, hey, Miami, do you know this is because they're burning coal in Wyoming? And then for the Wyoming audience, I'd play Rubio talking about rising sea levels coupled with air. So that's how I know lawmakers in every state. Well, so I do this big national profile of her called like The Cheneys Are Back. Liz Cheney was hurt by that piece. Like after that recess, next time I saw her, I go up with like hyper-local question, maybe about like education in Wyoming, blah, blah, blah. And she just grabs my arm very gently. And she goes, Matt, you're mean when you write for the Daily Beast. I go, ma'am, I'm so sorry. And her chief of staff was there. I look at her chief of staff, Sue, I believe. I look at her chief of staff. I'm like, I'm so sorry. If you could point out any of the spots in there I got it wrong, I will gladly pass that right on to my editors. Liz Cheney looks back at her chief of staff. Chief of staff looks at her, kind of shrugs a little bit, and Miss Cheney, Congressman Cheney goes, Matt, we'll get back to you on that. Guess what they never did? They never got back to me because there was nothing to get back on. The piece was 1,000% accurate. And I would have taken any complaint and passed it right on to my editor. No complaint came because there was nothing. Like the reporting was just unimpeachable. And so that's where she told me honestly, Matt, you're mean when you write for the Daily Beast. You hurt my feelings. And so like, that's just how I am with members of both parties. And like,
Yep.
Literally,
And honestly, dude, this
Yeah.
is something that I've been seeing you progressively going into, because since we started talking the first time last year, I've seen you going from asking them questions to realize that they're sort of using you, and then they're saying something else somewhere else entirely different. And obviously, any reporter, any journalist would get pissed off at that because they're playing with you. And I've seen you descend into that and realize like, okay, so they don't really care about what I'm doing. And that's the message that they're sending. And obviously you're going to respond with the truth, with what you have. And it's just unfortunate that there's a lot of people that confuse that with just like being a bad reporter or being mean or being, no, it's just journalism.
And this is the thing, like if you go and listen to any of our interviews with me and Luna, she likes me. Like I was just listening to a handful, like we're joking around. Like if anything, I annoy Luna because every time she sees me, she's like, oh shit, I'm going to be asked about UAPs and I'm not read up on it. Like I just re-listened to our post on her reaction to the big Wall Street Journal article, from June or whatever, trying to debunk, saying like, oh, from the 70s on, the entire UFO thing was just a psyop by the Air Force. Well, I asked her, hey, did you read that Wall Street Journal piece? She says, no. Then I ask her a question around that, and she goes, well, yeah, I think it's bullshit. And so, okay, Madam Chair and co-chair of the UAP caucus, like, when did you stop reading? Or did you just never start? Because, like, if the Wall Street Journal and if the sources for that piece are who I assume directed by Sean Kirkpatrick, and it's the Wall Street Journal, so they said they had like 18 or 20 sources in that piece, which if they say that, they did. Like it's the Wall Street Journal. They are the pinnacle of, they just do great reporting. Again, not talking about the op-ed pages, just what it takes to get in. And like one of my mentors was an A1 feature writer for Wall Street Journal. Like they, from all I've heard, they are unimpeachable in their reporting. So if they say they had 18 or 20 sources, they did. I'm just like, wait, how many people did Kirkpatrick put you in touch with?
Yeah.
Because like if you fished outside of his circle, you'd easily find whistleblowers who are like, no, 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 and would refute that. So to get, and like maybe they were just focused on that. And so I live in a world where, yeah, there could fully be a UFO psyop at the same time as there's a UFO program. Like this is how the government works. They want to confuse on top of confusion.
Do you think that after what Luna told you about not like giving you any more scoops, do you think that by the time you step in front of her, what do you think her reaction would be? Do you think she can just keep ignoring you, or how do you think that will play out for her?
Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to change my tactic. So instead of just going up
Audio?
with this, just Mike, she's dangerous. She literally lied and attacked me for stuff that she was derelict of. Like literally, last I checked, she hadn't read the Wall Street Journal article. Like you're the co-chair of the UAP caucus and you haven't even read that? Like that's literally like the Ukrainians going into battle without like any intel on new Russian technologies. Like, yeah, it happens maybe once because then that whole platoon dies and then it never happens again. But like, no, you don't go into battle without information. And so for her, and like what I asked her this summer was like, so after this huge Wall Street Journal feature trying to debunk and like delegitimize you personally and your entire caucus, do you think maybe like have a hearing on that? Because they obviously thought it would be powerful to plant that in the Wall Street Journal. And she shrugged it off. No. Well, yeah, you shrugged it off because you didn't read it.
Yeah.
I'm like, if that, and I'm like, I'm sorry, guys. I'm the UAP caucus. Like, people, now let me put it this way. Your own party, Congresswoman Luna, Republicans trust the Wall Street Journal more than they trust you. Like, we know they trust the Wall Street Journal more than they trust me. Like, I don't have a big backing, blah, blah, blah. But like, Wall Street Journal is trusted so much more than you are. And so like, for you to then just like write that off is like, oh, that's just some fancy newspaper. Right? No. To have an impact in reality, you have to live in reality. And like the reason I know Luna, knew Matt Gaetz, blah, 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 it's because they were in power. And you literally take the time to get to know the people in power. And so like, I haven't seen or heard from them. Like, and like, maybe it's wise. Again, maybe they're deploying strategic silence here too, not even giving any oxygen to that piece and that reporting. But like, I'm still curious about it. In fact, last week, I asked Senate Intel co-chair Mark Warner about it once again. And guess what? For the third time, Mark Warner said he hadn't read it. Oh, but hey, bro, last time I talked to you, Mr. Warner, I got your new press aides cell. I texted her the piece because you said, hey, send it to her. I'll read it. Well, you still haven't read it yet. So what's Professor Laslo going to do? I'm now going to print out that article. And because I'm printing it out for you, Mr. Warner, and doing your staff's jobs for them, I'm also going to print one out for the chair.
Luna.
Chair Tom Cotton.
Oh,
No. Luna, I don't think about Luna. Luna has nothing to do with my life.
yeah.
Like, nothing.
Also, it's pretty evident that this is something that people that support a lot of these Republican UAP members don't realize, that they don't have the level of power that the Senate has for decision making. And they keep thinking that for some reason they do, but they really don't. And through your reporting, we've realized that slowly over the past year that they
But
really don't have power.
here's the thing. The power, and like you see this over time, but like the House of Representatives can flex. Like, shoot, even from this small band of Freedom Caucus folks, even though Gates wasn't technically Freedom Caucus, like, and I guess Luna was on maternity leave, but like, y'all, some 8 Republicans came together, a couple of them on the Secrets Task Force, Mace, maybe Burchett, but they literally ousted a speaker. And so that's where I'm like, wait, at the start of this Congress, if you all really, really cared about this issue, and like maybe you knew you were getting this Secrets Task Force, which expanded your mandate from one topic that party leaders either block, eye roll, or disregard completely. Like, instead of just having a caucus or a select committee focused on that one thing, like, do you think party leaders really thought you were going to educate the American public on 10 or 15 different conspiracies? JFK, MLK, origins of
9/11.
9/11, or origins of COVID, how 9/11 really happened. Like, if you thought your party leaders really entrusted you all, the fringes of both parties, to like tackle these issues, then like, please, let's sit down, because I don't understand you and the clout you have in the party. I don't think that's the case, though. It seems like they're kind of getting out of it what they've wanted all along. Well, canceled. So like, it wasn't until July, 7th month of the year, that there was even going to be a UAP hearing, even though instead of the select committee, they literally got, like, they transformed, according to Burchett, they transformed the UAP caucus into the Secrets Task Force. As I said before, the first meeting of the Secrets Task Force, we saw what Luna's passionate about. And UAP did not make the list. JFK, MLK, RFK, blah, blah, blah. Epstein, that all made the list. What did not make that list was UAP. And so the Congresswoman has not liked me saying that. She's been frustrated. And actually, like, I've been compiling, since she attacked me, I've been compiling a list of like all the interviews I've done with her this year, because we've only posted probably like 5 or 6 of them. Like, these are,
You said you didn't post a bunch of them.
These are
right?
the notepads that I've ripped through so far this year. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is the current one I'm on. So I went back through all of these, dating back to January, or actually, one of them dated back to December, because that's when the Senate, Gillibrand, had her UAP hearing. So like, there was still in the mix. Like, the first day of this new Congress, January 3rd, what did I do? I had a one-on-one interview with Congresswoman Luna. What did we discuss? We discussed what she was passionate about. First day of the new Congress, what does Professor Laslo do? I lob softballs. I lob softballs in the air, because I literally want to know what lawmakers are thinking. Hey, what are you looking forward to in this Congress? That's like the most rookie, stupid question. Like, no. You know what lawmakers are expecting? They're expecting the bullshit you see on CNN at the White House. Like, who's that little twat from CNN who's giving his own show after Trump won? Jim Acosta. Like, Jim Acosta sitting there in the Rose Garden yelling at the president, Mr. President, we're not fake news. Shut the fuck up, Jim. Sit down. And you do not speak for me or any of my former interns or any of my colleagues. Literally, how do we prove that we're not fake news? It's not by saying, well, we're not fake news. Literally, that's what kids do on the playground in preschool. They say, you're a doo-doo head. No, you're a doo-doo head. You're fake news. No, we're not fake news. Shut up, you child. I know you got a book deal out of it. I know you got your own show out of it. But literally, what do journalists need to do? For one, what we're doing at AskaPol, which transparency, radical transparency. I am bringing everyone into our process so you can see that it's actually worse than it seems. And especially you all cued in on the UAP issue. Y'all are getting to see inside the veil. And guess what? Congresswoman Luna didn't even talk about UAPs in their first meeting. It wasn't even on her mind. Didn't bring it up to me on January 3rd. Didn't bring it up to me around the inauguration. Literally got skittish. Didn't like seeing me because she knew for months I'd be asking her about UAP when she didn't put any attention into the issue. It's just
when are you going to start rolling out the stuff that you didn't publish about her?
Dude, going back through it, and so this is where I'm torn. I don't think I want to give her any more oxygen. And like I'm kind of intrigued on how she'll react to seeing me next week. Because like on one level, I think she is not just taking it personally. And if anything, I'd say like I'm learning something about her. Like maybe she does really care about this issue. If that's the case, why are you burning the ones you love? And like, fuck AskaPol UAP. We're not in line with you. Like,
no, you're talking about the UFO community in general.
We're a freaking news outlet. Yeah. When it comes to the community, I'm learning from the way she went out of her way to lie about Lou. From like all I've heard, that's what it seems. Going out of her way to lie, but like misrepresenting her own thoughts for a year and a half just to score some win with Gates. That like, oh, once that silly game is up and Gates is gone, oh, now you do the big reveal that like, oh, that it was total nonsense. Shouldn't have even engaged in that. Like, but man, you did engage in that and you kept it alive. You and Matt Gaetz kept that alive for a year and a half. Like, I know he's not a member of Congress anymore. I guess technically he's my colleague at OAN. But now I'm curious, and you'll see. Just wait in the coming weeks. And again, I'm not looking for quick blah blah blah. Like, it may take a month or two, but like, I'm not gonna forget about this. I've been forced to learn how to play 15
as you shouldn't. I have a question that maybe you haven't been asked before.
Wait, one last thing on that. And so like now, and this is my big fear, and I'm understanding it more now. When I last talked to Congressman Burleson, post up at AskaPol UAP, should be one of the top posts on the page because it was just last week. But Congressman Burleson, who's kind of the only person, well, him and Senator Rounds. Rounds has still been engaged, but he's quiet. He's back rooms, not like backroom deal, like bad way, but like he's not really out in front of the issue, but he's kind of the most cued in this whole Congress. Well, him and Burleson. So Burleson, hearing him say, well, you know, we're after the what everyone views as a roundly successful public UAP hearing, Burleson's like, hey, we are going to aim to get whistleblowers in the skit. If then Burleson goes, well, if those whistleblowers won't go, then we have subpoenas. I'm like, wait, take a step back, everyone. The problem has never been that there's not whistleblowers willing to talk. The problem has always been that the whistleblowers feel no protection. And in the last Congress, they felt no protection from AARO. So what did they do? They came to Congress, namely to the Senate Intel Committee. And that's where Senator Gillibrand, who talked to many UAP whistleblowers. So have other members. Like, for members of the UAP caucus / Secrets Task Force to now be threatening subpoenas against this group of people who's like the minority of the minority, feel ostracized, have seen their fellow whistleblowers have be doxxed, have private information, like their records, their mental health records released, For Luna to be leading her committee and saying, and it seems, this is my big question for Burleson, a follow-up question when I see him this week, is like, do you think you guys are going to get more whistleblowers to come forward by threatening the current whistleblowers with subpoenas? Like, I think the answer everyone kind of knows. Like, for me, that you're seeing the chair influence the entire committee. And so now, instead of the UAP caucus being the allies of the whistleblower community, now the UAP caucus is in a fighting stance against their biggest / only allies. And so, like, for you guys to come out and threaten these whistleblowers with subpoenas is just astounding. It's just like,
can I tell you why?
Fathomable on one level.
Can I tell you why I think that's happening? Because let's take Burleson as an example, though. Burleson has people from the UAP community from different sides that have different agendas. They have different whistleblowers talking in their ear all the time. So this is happening to every UAP caucus member. So some of these people that are in their ear are talking shit about the other side naturally and saying, in many cases, false statements about the other side. And that's what confuses a lot of these Congress people, because they're not dialed in. They're like occupied with other stuff and the UFO stuff, and they don't really have time to like really look into the claims,
See,
I think that's what's happening.
That, and I'll take that and I'll ask, but like, I'm writing down how to ask this. Like, how many, here's my question next week, how many skeptics have you talked to? Because I don't know of any.
Yeah.
Sure, they're getting communication from skeptics, but like, we've never seen an intelligent skeptic on the dais, which I think would actually be very helpful for the American people, because like,
I agree.
There are people with knowledge and good responses. Like, put David Grush on stage with 1 or 5 of those skeptics, I'd watch that. I know a lot of my friends who don't even care about the issue would watch that. And so, like, I don't know how much of that there is. I'll inquire. But seriously, like, Burleson, he plugged Matthew Brown in this hearing. I haven't met, besides Burleson, not a single member of the 119th Congress who even knew who Matthew Brown was, except for Burchett. And when I brought him up to Burchett said he worries, not necessarily because he didn't know Brown and his allegations by name, but he's like, I fear that there's plants. And so he kind of dismissed Brown and his claims is like, oh, he might be a plant. Which I'm like, hey, he might be, maybe you should like read the transcript before you say he might be a plant. Like, if you haven't read it, like Congresswoman Luna, if you haven't read the Wall Street Journal article, how do you know it's bullshit? Like, I come from a family of landscapers. I know it's bullshit because I'm shoveling it and I fucking smell it and it steams, and boom, then your flowers grow. Like, that's how it's done to people. And so, like, it'll be interesting now to me to see how the UAP caucus plays this, because, and this is the big thing people forget. So like after 2 years of investigating, UAP caucus had like this big moment of clarity this year, where they learned that 1.2 miles down the road from them in the FBI Edgar Hoover building, there's an FBI UFO unit.
Yep.
Now, when we published that at AskaPol, we might have published it on a Thursday. I think we published it on a Friday, because got a call that Friday night, first time in my 19-year career, as a Washington correspondent, got a call Friday night from a lawmaker being like, hey, so FBI is a little pissed that you're reporting there, AskaPol. FBI is not happy. And I'm just like, good, fuck the fucking FBI. Like, I'm just sitting there laughing, just laughing at this lawmaker. Like, you're warning me? Like, what? Yeah, so I might have flushed some drugs down the drain, but like, RIP those drugs. But like, besides that, like, fuck, come at me, FBI. And so like, it was interesting. And like everyone, and I know most people in the community hate on AARO, rightfully so, for many reasons. But remember, the reason AARO was set up was to be outwardly facing. The reason we're even having this conversation, or these conversations in the halls of Congress, is because AARO was set up. And Congress, in an attempt basically to outsource their duty, like they set up AARO, and like what, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, last conversation I had with him about AARO and Fitzpatrick was Rubio being so disappointed, because he's literally like you were just saying, he's like, I'm busy. And he's kind of like, an afterthought, he's kind of like, that's why we set up AARO. Like literally, the Senate set up AARO because they outsourced their thinking on UFOs, and they wanted a trusted body to be the intake center for whistleblowers who could then report back to Congress, vet the information, and make sure only people like Grush, who Rubio also earlier in 2023 told me Grush was the first. He's like, we get these whistleblowers all the time. He's like, Grush is the first one the IG, the Inspector General, vetted, then fast tracked to Congress and said, this tracks, look into it. And so like, for Luna now to be, and Burleson and others to be attacking AARO, but then being like, oh, this FBI unit, like they actually had answers for us, blah, blah, blah. Well, so everyone take a step back. The deep state that we've all been told about from the right, the deep state that Luna and Burleson, along with President Trump, have lambasted. Deep state is basically the FBI and some other agencies. And so like, these members come out of deep state being enamored with deep state, being like, oh, that's right, we fucking hate AARO. Boom, we're going to transfer the power of AARO, which again, AARO outwardly focused, FBI internally focused, and just literally wants secrets and actively uses deception to deceive the American people and to like put us on a different track. And so like, for them now to be drinking the Kool-Aid publicly, just like chug, 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 there's like red dripping down their bellies like a kid in the summertime. Like, oh, look at this, the FBI, they've got a UFO unit. They're just drenched in this Kool-Aid. And I'm like, guys, okay, why don't you have a debate with senators like Gillibrand and Rounds and even Schumer about the whole reason AARO was set up? Because if you want to change AARO from being publicly facing to having a mandate that's completely internally focused and, for our eyes only, for government eyes only, well, if you guys are advocating for that, Chair Luna and Burleson, then are you also advocating for the UAP caucus to then join deep state? you know, because they don't want to talk about what they know. Yeah, they have a lot of tools and toys that they're using. And, turns out they have a lot of information that even AARO didn't have. Well, AARO is there. They've done a piss poor job of telling the story, but AARO is there to tell the story to the American people. That is not why the FBI is there. And like literally, you UAP caucus members, it took you 2 years to find out this unit even exists, and now you're drunk on their Kool-Aid and wanting to like appropriate the money for AARO to a secretive group. Okay, like, is the FBI like, are they making any promises to you all that they're going to declassify stuff so that you can share it with the public? Or is the FBI going to do what the FBI does and threaten reporters on Friday evenings through lawmakers? Like, you guys are literally playing with, you're letting a bull loose in the china shop and just being like, we trust the bull.
And the FBI has been investigating this for decades. It's not like they just arrived. They've been in it since at least the 90s. They've been in it. So the fact that it came out publicly, of course they didn't like it, but
but talking to senators, like Senator Rounds, when I told him that the next week, he just laughed and he's like, oh, I thought they would have known that. Like, listen, go to AskaPol UAP, listen to the audio of Senator Rounds, like the most gentle, docile, like he's a South Dakotan, former governor. Like, I think he probably like takes care of flies that are injured in his car. Like, he doesn't hurt flies, but he's like got bandages and stuff for him. So like having Senator Rounds, and these are two separate interviews. In one, it's Rounds laughing at the UAP caucus for just learning about this FBI UFO unit. He's like, I thought they would have known that. The other times this year that Rounds laughed in their faces, laughed in the entire Secrets Task Force face, Dems and ours, was when I first told Rounds about it. Senators like, what? Secrets Task Force? Huh? Like, never heard of it. This is when they're a few months in, or at least a couple months in. And when I tell Senator Rounds of their expansive mandate, this is probably the week after their news conference, Unleashing It, where Oversight Chair James Comer and Secrets Task Force Chair Luna were like gushing about, boom, they're going after MLK, RFK, COVID, blah, 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 everything, all the big conspiracies. Senator Rounds is like, oh, good, keep them busy. He literally, without ever talking to Speaker Johnson, without ever talking to Oversight Chair Comer, Senator Rounds just got it. That GOP leaders in the House have successfully penned off the UAP caucus. In fact, GOP leaders in the House have effectively, at least according to former UAP caucus co-chair Tim Burchett says UAP caucus is dead. It is now the Secrets Task Force. So like, you guys literally allowed, or you guys work in tandem with GOP leaders to gut the one topic, the one issue you were investigating that like was resonating with the public, where you were making headway. And like, now what do we see? After GOP leaders with, I think, Lunazel orchestrate this Secrets Task Force, which is like neuters the UAP caucus. According to Burchett, just dismantles it. Well, so now, because you spent the first half of the year focused on JFK, MLK, Epstein, etc., and like, I'm like, wait, why are you going after Epstein for 17-year-old girls? Why not? Why is Matt Gaetz getting a pass? Like, didn't Speaker McCarthy tell us that Matt Gaetz was going after 17-year-old girls? Like, if you all really care about Epstein and these young girls, as I do, as an uncle of 12, 4 or 5 of them being girls, I don't know, I think 12 still. But like, that's very worrisome to me. And knowing that there's congressional slush funds of millions of dollars that have been used to pay out victims over the years, bipartisan, just paying out, which I think I learned about this or was reminded of it earlier this year from Congresswoman Mace. So now I'm going to push Mace and others like, hey, why aren't you guys doing hearings on this? Like, if you're no longer give a shit about UAPs or only care about them twice a year, maybe 4 times a year, or whenever you're on the Joe Rogan show, like, if that's when you care about the issue, your neglect of it is being felt by the whistleblower community. Because, like, when you come back to it, the reason that whistleblower community feels antagonistic isn't because it's antagonistic. It's because they've just been knocking at your door. Like, hey, they've been out there in the real world taking all these barbs, all these hits, getting called liars everywhere, online, in part by your own online armies.
Unemployed.
Yeah. And so, like, I'm just very intrigued on where this goes, because without whistleblowers, the power is gone. Like David Grush, he was the power that, like, fueled this for the past 2 years. Something happened at the start of this Congress. And even though everyone was expecting radical disclosure, and, like, in part because that's what the administration promised, radical transparency, it almost seems like the opposite. And so now, having those whistleblowers within this administration, I'm still reporting on this, but it feels like some of these UAP caucus members are mimicking the administration, where anyone who talks bad is enemy, even if they weren't talking bad.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't hear them, or you were tuned out of the issue. And so when they were talking about it and showing you were derelict of duty, yeah, that cuts, that hurts.
So
and
here's
your
my
reaction
question
to that is to then decimate those people further, as opposed to saying, hey, my bad.
Here's my question though. Question though. Have you ever asked any of these Congress people if they've ever felt intimidated or threatened in any way for looking into UFOs?
Yeah, I keep coming back to it. And a lot of times I need to learn. And if anyone out there has a better way for me to phrase it, when I phrased it just like you phrased it there, both parties have been like, no, never. So I need to phrase it. I almost need to be like, hey, and like, this is just what we do as good, decent reporters. I need to come at it because, like, I say my job as a political reporter is to get lawmakers to fuck up and tell me what they're actually thinking. Because my job as a political comms professor is to train a Trump press secretary who y'all see on your TV screens every once in a while. You've been watching it all. She's been up there the past few weeks. But, like, yeah, one of my former students is a Trump press secretary. Also, one of my former students is leading, the head of one of the top progressive progressive groups, 501c3s in the nation. And so, like, my first day of course, I slam the door shut and I say, your fucking politics, stay out there. We're here to talk history. We're here to talk techniques, da. And so, like, it seems like, yeah, I'm still trying to figure out their ultimate goal and what they're actually trying to do. But in the meantime, I'm just watching as, like, they're literally, like, taking out their own babies. And, like, after Grush testified in 2023, what did we see? We saw a lot of more whistleblowers coming to Congress, not to AARO, but coming to Congress. I think the count I heard was 40 or something. And so what have we not had this year? We've not had that same rush. Something changed. That's why I'm slowly trying to figure it out. And like, if they were given a select UAP committee, that might have just been the natural honey to attract the flies or whatever. And so maybe I think them having the public hearing, and actually, like, no, let's go here. Like, one of my takeaways from that public hearing was like, hey, and this is utterly bipartisan. You have a Democratic firebrand, Jasmine Crockett, bomb thrower from the left, which is like known for going viral, lighting up the internet. She was engaged, and I looked for her last week, missed her. So I'm going to find her. We have a good enough relationship. She's actually like sort of traveling with an entourage, big SUV, 3-4 people, which I'm like, wait, are you now getting death threats? Like, there was some change with her, and so I gave her space last week. But I'm hoping to have a conversation with her. For one, like, hey, ma'am, what'd you think of the UAP issue? Because she's never, according to my knowledge, she's never even fucking thought about the issue until that hearing. But it seems to me that she might have reached out, or her staff reached out to Congressman Garcia and maybe some other Dems. Because like, I was almost ready at the start of that hearing for there to just be the bombastic fireworks that has been the hallmark of the Secrets Task Force. Like, anything they do is just like, boom, a war, which is why they have the scrappiest members from both parties, left and right. You got the scrappiest bomb throwers, maybe not the scrappiest. Some are the neglected bomb throwers, but like, you've got just like effectively rabid Republicans and deranged Dems, for lack of a better term. I use the same adjectives for both parties. Oh no, I just don't like politicians. What I try to give you is like what they're actually thinking. And so like, I was fully expecting Crockett to just like go to war and be like, you're wasting our time. Why aren't we doing like food stamp hearing, blah, blah, blah. But no, it felt to me like she was cued in, at least for her opening statement. It felt like that might have come from Garcia, maybe Moskowitz's office. Like, they were like, no, like, take this seriously. Because then when it came back, the second round of questions, Crockett kind of had nothing. But what did Crockett then do? She naturally did what I think Summer Lee did in her questioning, which is just focus on whistleblower protections with the Pogo guy, the government
Spielberger.
And so that's where the guys, like, my big takeaway after that hearing, and I listened to it twice, one while puking over the weekend while feeling better, but literally I was like, wait, and like, in a hyper-partisan Congress, I always say, like, it's the most boring thing to do is to do like, oh, Republicans said this, Dems said this, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't care. In a hyper-partisan Congress, the only interesting story is either Democrat on Democrat violence or Republican on Republican violence. Like, inter-party squabbles are the only interesting thing, and kind of the only thing that matters, unless you see the rainbow and there's a bipartisan issue. And like, let me tell you all, there are thousands of bills sitting in Congress with broad bipartisan support. Same when Dems are in power. Those bills do not come to the floor, even though they would just pass and help a lot of you out instantaneously. They don't come to the floor because both parties have perfected selling fear and doom. And so they bring bills to the floor to raise money. And like, that's what both parties do, and it's disgusting. Like, oh, they'll avert this government shutdown at the last minute, or oh, they'll let it shut down for a few weeks. But then, like, they're just going to be predictable after that. And so that's where, like, I was like, oh my gosh, Crockett and Luna. For one, Luna was praised by Crockett for having the hearing. Listen to any of the other hearings from the Secrets Task Force. There's no thank you. If anything, there's knives Just literally both parties, knives out, angry posters up, calling them pedophiles, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's just nasty. Like, it is the nastiest committee on Capitol Hill, with a possible exception of the Doge caucus, chaired by my lady MTG, who I go to Trump boat parades with around July 4th. But so, like, that's where I was so not shocked, but I was surprised to hear Luna, like, or because I was sick during the hearing. When I first was able to talk to her, she gave me just shade for not being at the hearing. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Cool. Went on to the next question. Cool. But my questions were very open. Like, hey, what was your takeaway from that? Hey, well, like, look at the takeaway we just published today with Congressman Nick Begich. He's like, hey, my takeaway is the administration is misconstruing the Constitution or some law in a way that we can, like, legally go at, or pardon me, that we can target their legalese, and boom, we can make their house of cards unravel. You know, all the skeptics, all the blockers. And so Begich is like bright-eyed, and he's like, hey, we need to stiff down this. Other members are like, hey, we need whistleblower protections. That's what Dems were saying, and Republicans. Many Republicans, not the chair. But we got from the chair and her right-hand man, which is Burleson. And honestly, the reason we were even having a lot of these conversations is because of Burleson. And so, like, he's like, I trust him. If anything, like, I could see his comm staff, and I could see Luna and her comm staff getting very mad at him, being like, you weren't supposed to talk about that. Like, you weren't supposed to say that. You weren't supposed to blah, blah, blah. Congressman Burleson, don't listen to them. We are your community. You keep telling us whatever you want to tell us. Don't listen to those haters. But so Luna, her takeaway was that AskaPol UAP wasn't there because I was sick. So she was personally hurt. I'm like, okay, I get that. But after I ask you a couple more questions, why are you so focused on your feelings or mine? Fuck us. Pardon me. Fuck me. I don't matter. Why aren't you leaving there talking about whistleblowers? Like, the fact that you, in the weeks after the only public UAP hearing this year, the fact that you're lashing out at the only journalist in Washington covering the issue, as opposed to talking about the bipartisan consensus to protect whistleblowers, like, I'm happy to just leave it there. You can talk about me all you want. That's a fool's errand. I'm here to talk about whistleblowers.
Bro, I have one last question for you.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me, bro.
This comes from my friends that live in life consciously, because they always ask me to ask this question to some of my guests. And I'm going to ask it, but this is an interesting one. Nice. What is your biggest hope for the future of humanity?
I'd say almost, and this might feel a little pie in the sky, but like, God, I want us to all remember that we're on the same team. Like, we're humans. Like, I hate the tribalism, and like here stateside, like I did my MA thesis on the increase in partisanship from the 80s on. And so, like, I've studied hyperpartisanship. Like, the problem right now in America and in other nations that we're mirroring, that are / mirroring us, like Hungary, part of Brazil, the part in jail, you know, all these other nations, like, it's not hyperpartisanship. It's become hyper tribalism. And like, hyper tribalism sets up the death of all of us, because there's always going to be a bigger tribe. And then boom, All you want is annihilation. Like that's what tribes want, you know, to take over. And so like, it really pains me. And, you know, Wired Magazine contributor, teach on new media, like seeing how algorithms are being weaponized against, you know, and tearing families apart, tearing like natural allies apart, and just like presenting us all with our own universe that mirrors ourselves. Like, oh my God, that's my personal hell, is being in a room with 100 Matt Laslos. Like, fuck that shit. I don't want to be with people who think like me. Like, that's the most boring thing ever. I have friends who are MAGA. I've got friends who are gropers. I just had beers and stogies with them a few weeks ago. Like, I've got conservative, moderate family members, MAGA family members, and like, don't get me started on the left. And so like, I live in a world where like nuance and difference are lauded by me, but now seeing like the actual reality where people are closing their world off, and like, it's neither here nor there, but one thing I do is I try to fake out my different apps. So like my Netflix thinks I'm like hyper MAGA, or I have a couple different Netflix accounts. One's like Pop Laslo. Like, yeah, I just try to fake out the algorithms. And so, like, literally, if anyone listening, go and follow 5 people or unblock 5 people who you disagree with. If they give you death threats, anything like that, like, no, you should probably keep them blocked. I have a non-blocking rule. And I think like the biggest crime journalists are committing in this era is we've gotten into this habit of just blocking people. Like, yeah, in the public, you can do it. I did not hire a journalist who had anyone blocked unless it was their ex-wife, because I got my ex-wife blocked. So that's my rule. I only allow for blocking that one. But so that's where knowing algorithms are already limiting our own view of reality, to then go and take that voice. And like when I've had Sue Davis from NPR, and she came and talked to my students at Hopkins, you know, she point blank was like, yeah, I get a lot of rape threats, some death threats, a lot of rape threats. So I get it for female reporters who are getting the sexual assault threats. Like, yeah, you don't need to live in that universe. I'd be dubious blocking them because I want to see those creeps, as painful as it is.
You gotta keep those closer.
Yeah. And so like, but I get that. And so like, I'm not universal in my thinking. Like my thinking I apply to myself. But having so many, like what, a New York Times reporter blocked me, like Stead Hermson or whatever, blocked me like a decade ago because I literally kept pointing out his logical fallacy. Because he was like, hey, I think it was under Biden, or no, it was probably under Trump 1, or maybe even end of Obama. But it was like, if Obama did that, you know what would happen. No. Full stop. No, we don't. How do we know what would happen if it hasn't happened? Literally, anything can happen. People can change their minds. Like, how do you know that the reality is going to go this way? But because he lives in his own New York Times bubble of their own making, he blocked me, Professor Laslo, for literally giving him a Logic 101 lesson. That you cannot know, you cannot predict the future at all. Like, it's just, and so like seeing people actively limiting their own reality to me is so foolish. Like, guys, listen to people who disagree with you. They make you smarter if you really listen. If you just listen to people who sound like you end up sounding like an idiot because your ideas aren't strong. They haven't been tested. You bring them in public and they're flimsy. Like, having different ideas and differences, like, is one of the things that made America great.
Yeah, one of the things that keeps humanity moving forward. So great response, man. Thank you so much. I'll be watching you next week. See how it all progresses. I wish you the best of luck, and we'll help you sending out those questions.
I don't need luck. I got God on my side. Just kidding. Just kidding. I'm not a politician. God hates me.
That's a perfect way to end it, bro. Thank you, Laslo. See you next time, man.
Cheers, brother.
Time.
Appreciate you, boss.
Bye, people. Like and subscribe. You know what to do. And follow AskaPol. Please subscribe. Please.
Bye. We need it.
Yeah.
Peace, y'all.